Good morning, 5-star. Happy Thursday. We are happy to be with you again today for another awesome edition of the 10,000 live stream. I've just really been enjoying the topics that we've been sharing with you, and we hope that you are as well. A lot of great information. Today we have a special guest, Brian Cribbs. He's one of our 5-star agents, and you are in
the Spring Lake office.
Spring Lake, Michigan.
Spring Lake office. Okay. And he spent 40 years in law enforcement. And so he has decided that he would be with us today. We've asked him to come and be our guest and just to talk about realtor safety for this week. I know that it's really easy just to do business. Some of you buy leads, you meet strangers at homes. We do open houses. We have the public coming in and out. I don't know about you, but when I got in the business 20 years ago, we put every client in our car. We would take them in our car, right? And we would take them from house to house to house. And so we just want to be more vigilant in today's society. And so Brian, if you would just tell us just a little bit about yourself and what do you see happening out there today as far as
can I say something before Brian talks? Did you just say 40 years? 40, Brian, did you start when you were like the math is not adding up for me. You must have started when you were like 16 or 17, right?
Close. I started when I was 18 as a police cadet in Muskegon Heights for a couple of years while I was in criminal justice classes. But yeah, it was 40 years total, including that in law enforcement.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just...
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, first of all, and welcome to anybody that's paying attention. A little bit about me, like Kim alluded to, I've got 40 years in law enforcement, starting as a police cadet in Muskegon Heights in the mid-70s. Got my first full-time job with the city police department in 78. Spent about 7 years there. And then in 1984, I got enlisted in the Michigan State Police. And then I spent 31 years with Michigan State Police. I've been kind of all over the state. I started out in the Benton Harbor, St. Joseph area, which is in the southwest corner of the state. I did a little bit of time in Jonesville, which is in south central Michigan. I did just shy of 8 years in downtown Detroit. And then I got stationed in Grand Haven in 1993 and remained there until I retired in 2015. Wow. So during that time, I held several positions. I was a crime scene investigator, advanced accident investigator. I was on the SWAT team for 20 years. Enjoyed every minute of my career. I saw a lot of things, but totally enjoyed the career of the full 40 years. So in 2015, as I was getting ready to retire, my wife, Irene, who's a realtor, she'd been a realtor since I think 2006. We were kind of talking about what I was going to do when I retired from police work, and I was just kind of half joking that I was going to retire and join her in real estate.
There you go. There you go.
So as time got closer, we talked about it more, and it actually became a good idea, and it's been a great idea ever since. So I've been in it now for 7 years in the real estate end of it.
That's awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
So we're sure that you'd be a really good candidate to tell us more about safety, about what to look out for, how to be vigilant, how to stay aware, just some quick reminders. I know that many of our local boards have complete programs on realtor safety. NAR has a lot of good information on realtor safety. But if you today said, boy, I just really want to get this message out to every agent out there, what wisdom would you give every one of us about staying safe in today's world and today's market regarding selling real estate?
Great question. Great question.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I would say is don't be paranoid, but be aware.
Okay.
Pay attention when you're going to especially vacant houses. Vacant houses obviously are one of the biggest danger areas. We actually had an instance, myself and Irene, this past winter where we're showing a vacant house down in Grand Rapids. There had been fresh snowfall the night before, and as we were walking up to the house, I'm because of my career in law enforcement, I'm always looking around. I'm always suspicious of everything. But I noticed there was a fresh set of tracks in the snow leaving the house. Nothing going in, but the tracks were leaving, which indicated somebody had been staying in that house, a squatter or a crackhead, who knows what. But so that obviously sent a red flag up right away, when you see a fresh set of tracks. So, I told them I'd go in the house first, take a quick look around before our client and my wife went into the house as well. But with vacant houses, look for signs of maybe a broken lock, broken window, things that just look out of place. But vacant houses are obviously one of the biggest, I think, concerns when it comes to showing a property, because you just don't know who or what could be inside.
And, I've been working with an agent that she's had this very thing happening. When she went to take the listing, there were squatters in there.
Yes.
So very important, because we don't know who these people are. We don't know their mental state, right?
That's correct.
So it's, I always say, trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
100%. Your gut instinct's always your best instinct.
Yeah. And one thing that we do as realtors, we're multitasking, we're answering our texts, we're on our phone, we're trying to get the Central Lock app up, we're waiting for our clients, we've got MLS sheets in our hand, and then we're walking up to a door and we're totally unprepared, haven't paid attention to our surroundings. So I think what I hear you saying, number one, is pay attention. You notice footsteps coming out of the house. Something wasn't making sense right now, right?
Absolutely. And that's a great point. That's one that I was going to make, is what you said exactly, Kim, is we're so busy, with our phones nowadays, texting, checking emails, looking at apps, whatever it is, pay attention around you before you pay attention to your phone. Same thing if you're showing a house, don't be on your phone showing the house. Maybe keep it in your hand. It's always a good thing to keep your phone in your hand when you're on a showing, just in case you need to, alert somebody that something's not right. It is a good thing to have your phone in your hand.
Yeah.
Right. And actually there are different apps, different ways that you can let somebody know that if you don't respond, right? I believe Flex has one. There's other programs out there that if you don't respond, or you can hit a button, a panic button, something, we're not probably going to get into all the different things, but there are many, many devices out there. But one is you can let certain people know, if you don't respond by this time, this is where you are, and they should come looking for you, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the majority of the time, I would say we're familiar with the clients that we're showing our houses to, not always. So when you're not showing a house to somebody or when you're showing a house to somebody that you're not familiar with, it's absolutely important to let somebody know where you're going to be, about what time you're going to be done. I always encourage, if it's a new client, of course, trying to meet them in person, in a public place, whether it's at your office, a coffee shop. If you have the ability to discreetly take a picture of them or their car, things like that. Try to, find out a little bit about that person before you do show the house.
Brian, what you just said, it makes total sense to me when we talk about pre-screening clients, right?
Yes.
And do we really do a great job of pre-screening clients? Are we quick to get in the car and go, hey, I got a lead, they're excited about this house, and your mind is on the sale, not necessarily on some of the things that would be more about the safety piece. I mean, if I'm going alone, should I be bringing somebody with me? For sure, let people know where you're going, and those types of things. But again, we always feel like we get caught up in the sale, so we're not vigilant about, as you just said, Kim, about some of those things that we should be learning about that client early on, right? So,
Yeah, pre-approval.
yeah, good point, Brian. Good point.
And some of those apps Kim mentioned, there are lots of different apps for your phone. There's separate standalone, safety devices that you can, kind of like Life Alert, where you press a button to allow somebody to know that there's trouble. It's a GPS or pinpoint your location. If you Google it, there's just so many things on the market. With Century Lock, there's actually a agent safety feature. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of that you can set that up that if you're on a showing, it will send a message to you after a certain amount of time. And then if you don't respond, it will actually alert some of your contacts. So that's, another thing that's available to us right now. Utilize programs like Forewarn, maybe Otis, which is the offender tracking system for Michigan, just to learn a little bit about somebody. With Forewarn, you can do a reverse lookup on a phone number. So if you have somebody's phone number that they called you, you can punch that in and shows lots and lots of information. As you guys talked a little earlier, one of our agents just had this yesterday or the day before where she was going to show a property up north. And she ran the person through Forewarn and found out they had several instances of CSC, which is criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree. And, that's about as huge as a red flag warning that you can possibly get.
Yeah.
So, your safety is always paramount of importance versus trying to get a sale or a check.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I remember when I was with another brokerage, I was new to the industry and I was working floor, taking office calls, and I got a call of somebody never met. They were from Florida. They wanted to see a vacant piece of property on Spring Lake, and it would have been probably a $2 to $3 million sale. So what did I do? I literally dropped everything I was doing, drove 100 miles an hour to get to that location to meet this person, but I didn't know a thing about him. So you get so wrapped up in that excitement of, a potential client, a potential sale, that you need to just, slow down and, think about what's going on first.
Yeah. Well,
Right. And I think the one that you mentioned was the easiest one is the CentriKey app. I couldn't think about it earlier, but that is the name of it. But that CentriKey is the easiest one because it goes along with our apps and with everything else that we're doing. Also, Life 360. So your family, friends know where you are, especially if you're a realtor. I think those are two of the easiest ones. Plus, you mentioned there are bracelets, there's mace, there's high decibel alarms, there's everything you can think of. We can't really get into that today, but probably the first thing the person that's assaulting you is going to take away is your cell phone, right? So we also want to have some other options for letting somebody know that, hey, something's not right.
Right. And
Doug, go ahead.
No, I was going to echo what you guys were talking about with having a plan. What you just gave as an example, Brian. I mean, this is where people need to understand and be vigilant about what they're about to do, and share that with as many people as you possibly can. Right. We wrote down the other day, have a plan and then have a backup plan. And really, that's true to some degree. You really want to make sure that you're doing the right things and sharing with as many people where you're going, especially Brian, if it's this Spring Lake sale, man, you just dropped everything that you're doing. You had no idea who these people were, right? And I've done that many times. And I think to myself, Doug, what are you doing? I mean, just be smart about what you're doing. So,
and there's nothing to preclude you from taking, it doesn't even have to be a realtor to bring with you to a showing. My sister's a realtor and she brought my mother on a showing, who was, 80 years old, but she sat in the car, and at least she's a point of, if a person sees the second person in a car, you're going to be a whole lot less, a whole lot more hesitant to maybe have ill intentions if there's somebody else present. So it can be a spouse, bring somebody with you if you have any issues. And I've always tried to let agents know if they ever have a uncomfortable feeling, I'm happy to try to accommodate them if my schedule allows it myself. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's really good. I think one of the things that we can do that's probably the simplest, and it has many different positives to it, is pre-approve your buyers before you meet them. That's for safety, that's for your time, that's to know that you have a good buyer. There's a lot of reasons that we should be vetting those buyers prior to meeting them in a home or a strange home, right? So I think that's really important. I know a couple of my principles when I'm out in the public is I never let my back be to them. Now, if they're a friend and somebody I know, that's a different story. But when it's someone I'm not real familiar with, or if I'm doing an open house, I was always taught, know where your exits are. You never let your back be to the customer. You always want to be able to have an exit strategy, including your car, including the doors. When I do open houses, I don't do them as much anymore, but I always have a pocket that has some mace in it. You know, I don't let anyone see it, but if I need to use it, I want to know, where are my exits? You know, where's the door? How am I getting out of here? And I don't go in a fear-based aspect, but I am aware. Real quick, about 15, 17 years ago, one of the agents in our community was assaulted at an open house. And if you Google it, Kelly Brewer in Kalamazoo, you will find it. And one thing I never do is go into a basement with a client that I don't know, ever. And she did that. And this man assaulted her from behind and was strangling her. And it's a true story. I was around when it all happened. And she said she remembers getting ready to take her last breath. And she kept saying, why are you doing this to me? I have 2 children at home. And she was just praying. And somehow he tripped, I believe, and it broke his hold on her neck. And she was able to get away. And I think there's more to it. She actually talked him down and actually was talking to him afterwards. But the story is, never go into a basement. Even if they want to go down and they say, hey, what do you think about this or this? I just let them know, if I don't know them, I don't have a practice of going to the basement, or I might go down a couple steps and peek, but I'm never going to be in a position where I can't get away. They later found that male that assaulted her guilty for murder at the Culvers from another incident. So these are real stories. We like to give you real stories. Like, there's a balance between, you know, not operating in fear, but operating in awareness and being vigilant at all times, because you don't want to be that one victim, especially agents, it could be male or female, that run leads.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know about you, Brian or Kim. I don't even go into bedrooms and bathrooms.
No.
I just stay in kind of a neutral setting somewhere in the general area, so that, hey, if they've got questions, I mean, personal spaces, let them go explore the personal spaces. If they come back to you with questions, then you're ready to obviously field those questions. But to your point, Kim, basements, personal space, I mean, just don't take chances. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
Brian?
basements are, I'm glad you brought that up. That was another note that I wanted to mention, but that's exactly right what you said, Kim, about don't go into basements. Try to position yourself so you're between the person and the exit door. You know, try to, you know, leave yourself in between that spot. Don't get on the inside of the person. Direct them. You know, you don't have to lead the way in the rooms. Just direct them. You know, like, here's the master or the primary suite right here. So direct them from, you know, a few feet away or a distance. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what else? What other things can either of you think of that are just good reminders? I know, you know, there are many, we mentioned this, there are many types of jewelry that you can wear. Use your applications, you know, your apps, check them out on Forewarn. What other things, if we had to just give 1 or 2 more hot tips before we sign off, that you can think of that you might want to share? They're just really good practices.
Yeah, well, I know you talked about some of the safety devices, mace. Some people get their concealed weapons permits, you know, some carry, you know, other sharp objects that can be used. Mace, just speaking from experience with mace, I'm not a huge fan of mace. It can be effective. In police work, we found more often than not, mace was not real effective on people, especially if they're, you know, have mental issues or on drugs. It just doesn't have a lot of effect. And quite often, when you spray mace, you might get spray back on yourself. That stuff goes everywhere, and it could disable you yourself also.
Good to know.
I had
Yeah.
one instance where I was chasing a car thief in Detroit, and he turned around to see where I was, and I sprayed him with a mace, and I actually got some of it myself, and my eyes slammed shut. I couldn't even open my eyes. So then I was in a struggle, a blind struggle. So I just use a little bit of caution with mace as a last resort. Yeah, possibly consider that also. We always say flight before fight. So if you have any opportunity, run, scream, make lots of noise, draw attention to yourself. A couple more things about parking your car. Don't park your car where somebody's going to park behind you, like in a driveway. Park your car in the street or somewhere where you can leave easily if you have to. But you're right. I mean, there's not, agents show houses literally probably millions of showings per day and everything goes fine. But it's just that one instance that doesn't go fine that you want to be prepared for, have a game plan in mind. Like Doug said, have a plan, have a backup plan. When I was in law enforcement, I did rehearsals in my mind all the time. Like if I was stopping a car, I would say, all right, if this guy happens to jump out of the car and start shooting, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? So make mental rehearsals in your mind, because the more you're mentally prepared, the better you're going to be able to respond, to an incident if you need to.
Yeah, good wisdom. Good stuff.
Yeah. And Kim, what you said, and I'm just gonna echo that, because I'm one of those guys that says if it doesn't feel right, there's a very good chance that it isn't, right? And so I don't know why that goes through my mind every time I'm meeting people for the first time or meeting people at an open house. But again, those are the things that, again, I think we need to be very aware of our surroundings, to the point of what we all talked about this morning. Be very vigilant with your efforts. Know all of these things as you kind of go into those things, and be very aware. So no, I think we've touched on some good points here this morning. This is good.
Yeah, and one more thing, as I'm just looking through some of my notes here, is for women, high heels and skirts are probably not your most ideal clothing, right? Just high heels, you're not going to be able to run. So maybe think about how you're dressing, especially with a stranger. Just also, not to feel vulnerable as well. So, and these are lessons that aren't just in realtor safety, but in life, and going to the grocery store, just as we go out and about and do our business. So we really appreciate Brian coming today. I think what our message is as we leave is, are you prepared? Do you have a plan? You don't expect it to happen, and we hope that it never, ever does. But pre-screening is probably one of your biggest defenses. Know who you're meeting, know who that person is. But as Brian started, there could be people within the home that you might not expect, right?
And just another quick point regarding that, vacant homes. I even, on an occupied home, if I have a confirmed showing, I never go in the house without knocking and ringing the doorbell. When I open the door, I announce myself.
Me too. Yes.
Because there's been instances where homeowners haven't gotten the message that there was a showing. I remember Irene and I showed one house in North Muskegon where a guy was sitting there and had a German Shepherd that was not very friendly. So had we just opened the door and walked in, it could not only be the homeowner reacting, but that dog reacting. So there's just so many facets of your safety when it comes to real estate. And even, what we make it sound like it's all, women that have to be aware, but men have to also. Just, like I said, in the case of a dog, or if you're in an unfamiliar neighborhood that might, not be the safest neighborhood, pay attention, to your surroundings in that neighborhood, whether you're a man or a woman. So yeah, there's so many facets, and I know we could go on for hours about, safety and, but yeah, just be aware, have a plan.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And Kim, what you just talked about, I totally agree. No more high heels for me.
Yeah, no more, Doug.
No
You gotta give those up, man.
My
And
age,
those skirts, they probably should go too.
those should, now you tell me. I gotta get my whole new wardrobe. I gotta change something. So, all right.
If you notice, Doug's always the one who always makes everything really nice and light around here. We just love having him in our conversations because he just makes it really fun. So
Super fun. Brian, this has been great, brother. This is nice.
Thank you. Anybody can feel free to reach out to me personally at any time. If anybody has a question or concern or needs more information on anything at all, feel free to get in touch with me.
Yes. Well, thank you again. We appreciate your time and your wisdom. And as Brian said, if you ever have any questions, give him a call. And just remember, be vigilant, vigilant, excuse me. Everyone have a safe and happy holiday this weekend. And we hope you get a little bit of relaxation in there and hopefully sell a few houses in between. So,
Go
all right.
connect. Go connect.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Everyone have a good day. See ya.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Brian. Bye.
You're welcome.